Good morning and happy Saturday. I hope you've had a good week so far. I am thinking about shoulders today because my husband came home and had some neck pain and shoulder pain, and actually a lot of people that I've been speaking to recently, a couple messages I've received have been about people with shoulder issues. And I think since we're spending a lot more time through lockdown, over the past, since March, you might not be moving between work and home as much as you used to, so maybe you don't have that commute, or you might have just not been sitting down as much as you are at the moment. So I wanted to do a few things just to show you that you could do while you're sitting at your desk and after work or before work, just to relieve all this tension that we can build up around the head and the neck and the shoulders. So you're going to need your band or your little rope or whatever you had using yesterday. I've got this really nice long robe belt that I can use, or else I have a TheraBand. I do prefer to use a stretchy band, so I'm going to take hold of that one, but whatever you have here will work. You're going to take hold of either edge, either end, either tail of your band, or whatever you're using, and just step on it. So each foot is going to be placed just hip distance apart right underneath you. And you want to take hold of your band about where your knees are. So kind of inching your way down the band until you're holding on where your knees are. It's going to be a little bit different if you're using a not so forgiving band, but you just want whatever you're holding on to just be able to start to pull your shoulders down towards the ground a little bit, and just stay here. We're going to start to just focus in and settle in on the breath here while you're standing, gripping with, all of your strength and all of your muscles onto this band. So kind of a loose grip. You're not going to let that go, though. And just starting to take a couple of deep breaths in through the nose and out through the open mouth. So you're just taking a few moments to allow your thoughts to settle and your mind to arrive this morning. Just starting to be aware of what your energy levels are, what your body's feeling like today. Just acknowledging all of that. Trying to be really focused on this moment here. It's really, really easy to get distracted by everything else that's going on in our lives, especially if there is pain and there is discomfort through these areas which you've been talking about, head, neck, or shoulders, and even down into the back. So just really allowing your thoughts to settle, focusing in on the breath, nice big deep breaths, right down into the bottom of the lungs. Seeing if, rather than kind of letting your shoulders move up and down as you're breathing, you can really start to take that breath down right into the midsection of the body, back down into kind of the tippy edges of the ribs. A few more breaths. Then you're just going to begin to allow your right ear to fold over to your right shoulder. Take a big deep breath in here. As you exhale, you're going to let your head roll down, so you're looking down at your toes. Maybe check into your feet, make sure that they're parallel to each other, and then roll your head over to the left side. Take a big deep breath in here. Make sure that you're letting your ear have a conversation with your shoulder. So it's like you've got some water in your ear that you want to pour out onto your shoulder. And then exhale and roll your head into the center again. Take a big deep breath before exhaling over to the other side. So we're just going to keep on rolling through, taking your time, keeping the skull nice and heavy. So there's no real effort going on here. As you're breathing and you're moving your head, make sure this isn't causing any major pain or discomfort. You know, you can keep this movement as small or as big as feels good for your the head, neck, and shoulders this morning. So you're going to pause the next time you're about halfway in between your right shoulder and the center of this movement. So now you'll be looking sort of at your little toe of your foot, and you're just going to start to do a little side-to-side movement of the head, as if someone asked you a question and you were saying no. Without saying a word, you'd be shaking your head no. Just a little bit of loosening off of those muscles. And then roll back on over to the center. And we're going to go over halfway between the left side and the center and have a little bit of side-to-side action going on here. So you're saying no. Are you going to do any work today? No. It's Saturday. And then roll on back to the center. I'm going to roll over to the left. Roll over to the right. And then come on back up to the center again. Just let your head be right over your shoulders. You can release the band. Just let that go and rest down onto the floor. You're going to lift your shoulders up towards your ears. Nice big deep breath in. Exhale and just let them drop down. 3 more times. Excellent. And then just notice how your shoulders are falling onto your rib cage, over your feet and your legs. Maybe you feel a bit more spacious between your ears and your shoulders. And then we're going to just grab a chair or grab a seat wherever you are and take a little sit down for a moment. So this is where you could take some of these exercises into your workspace and do them probably, every hour or so. It's really good to just get the wrists moving. We spend a lot of time like this and like this. Well, I have an ergonomic mouse, so my hand is like this. But really, it's not giving the rest of our shoulder, our wrists and our shoulders any movement. So most of the time when we're getting a problem, it's because we're repeating something over and over and over again and just doing the same thing all the time. What our body loves is variation. It loves to go and move in all of these different directions. So really important to be doing that throughout the day. So we're just going to start with a bit of wrist rolling. Really see if you can get your wrists to move in all different directions here. Just rolling them out, noticing how that feels for your wrists. And then you're just going to take your palms together, letting all of your surface of your palms mirror each other exactly in your fingers. Bring them together, and you're just going to start to draw your hands down, pressing your palms together, and then draw your shoulder blades back together at the back of the body. There we go. I've got a little bit of unevenness going on. I can see in myself. Take a big deep breath here, and then just release that. Let your shoulder blades relax, let your wrists relax, and then start pressing together again. So pressing the palms together and then drawing down, creating this little bit of a stretch for the wrists. And draw your shoulder blades together and feel what that does for this little stretch. And then release. And do that one more time. So palms together, drawing down, drawing the shoulder blades together, getting this lovely bit of action going on through the shoulders and the wrists. Good. Give that a little shake out. Now you're going to let the fingers mirror each other again, but they're not going to touch this time. Leave a little bit of space between your hands. And you're going to start to bend your little fingers and then straighten them out towards each other. So they bend back up. See if you can just isolate the movement through your little finger. You're going to do 3 of those bending and straightenings on each finger. Moving down to the 4th one, bending and then straightening. This one's always really difficult for me. Just really feeling as if there were a piece of wire in there that you were going to bend and then straighten out. Move on to the middle finger. Remember, we're doing this 3 times on each finger. Nice and slow. Notice how much coordination you have through each finger. And then moving on to that the 1st finger. And then down onto the thumb. Bending it and then straightening it out. Good, and then we'll just work one by one back up to the little finger side of the hand. Really nice. Give that a little shake out. You're going to start to scoop up your wrists. So as if you had some rice in front of you or something with a really nice texture that you wanted to scoop up with your hands and your wrists. Notice that I'm not using my whole arm to do this. I'm really leaving my elbow where it is and just doing this through my wrists and through my hands. So cupping with your hand and making a little scooping action. And then you can imagine, I hope you scooped up some dirt or something that you don't want to have in your hand, and you can flick that away. So just give it a nice flick. You can use your fingers balled up and then just release them out. Do that a couple more times. Really feel like you're being quite vigorous with this. Nice. And then just give that a little shake out. Let's shake out that right arm. Just give it a nice shake. Kind of feel like you can really move it. Really kind of get all of that arm moving. Every bit of skin that you have on your arm is having a little shake out. And just give it a little brush. All the way down to the fingers. Just notice that side compare to the other one before we give it a nice little shake. Right from the shoulder all the way through the elbow into the wrist and the hand. Give it a shake. You might look like a little bit of a crazy person, but that's okay. Feels pretty nice. Just to get it moving after maybe, sitting down at your desk for a long time or just waking up, it can feel quite good. Okay, so now you're going to take your left hand onto your right trapezius muscle. And that's just this muscle right along here. You'll be able to feel it because it's not bone. Above it and beneath it, you'll feel your top of your collarbone and your shoulder blade. So just find this area where where if you just let your fingers stay there for a while, they'll start to sink in. Relax the shoulder and just use your left fingers to explore that area a little bit. See where they start to melt into the muscle, the trapezius muscle, and just let that happen. Just kind of let your hand settle and melt and feel like it's starting to make an indentation into that muscle. And then see how far down you can get with your fingers. And you're going to lift that trapezius muscle into your hand. Give it a good old squeeze and then release it down and away. So a really nice image that I like to have here is that muscle is a sponge. And as you're releasing it, it's filling with water. And then you're going to squeeze all of the water out of that sponge, every last drop. And then as you're letting go, it fills back up with water again. So imagine how a sponge, when you squeeze it out, it lets all of the moisture that it's trapped out of this little surface area. And then when you release it, it can just suck all the moisture back in and get that back in. So just doing that a couple more times. Notice for you whether this is quite a tender area. And then release the muscle on that side. Just take a moment. Notice how that side feels compared to the side you haven't done. Feels pretty good there. And then we'll do the other side. So use your right hand to feel around your left trapezius. This is one of these muscles that if you're constantly sitting with your shoulders really upright, or really kind of close to your ears all day long, if you're have quite a stressful job, or you're feeling overwhelmed, this is kind of or cold. Get quite cold and my shoulders go right up towards my ears. Those muscles can really tense up and be overworked. So let your fingers just sink into that muscle for a little bit of time, really feeling that you're not onto the bone, right into the meat of that muscle. And your fingers can just melt in and really get a good idea of where that muscle is, how tender it is, what's happening for it today. And then start to lift that muscle up into your hand, give it a good squeeze, and then release it. So that image of the sponge works really nicely here for me. See if you could imagine that your sponge is filling right up with water. You could squeeze it out and then let it go. It's filling up with water as you release, and then you squeeze the water out. My brain isn't quite awake yet. And just do that one more time. And then I'm going to have you take your same hand onto the same trapezius muscles. So now you've got both hands here onto those muscles. You're going to just start to pull them toward you, one at a time. And you might just notice that your head wants to go to the side. Notice which direction that is for your own head. Maybe it doesn't want to move, so just be really aware, be really conscious of what feels good for you here. I really like this little bit of movement that I can get from side to side with the head, with the neck, just turning as I kind of guide my muscles forward. And you're going to start to make your way up the neck, so up through those muscles on either side of the vertebra of the neck. Just, putting as much pressure as feels good for you. You're going to make your way all the way up to the nape of the neck, so where the skull kind of meets the vertebra of your neck. And then just let your fingers kind of sink in there. Maybe you want to do little circles around here to massage that area. And then come on around to this area right underneath the earlobes. Give that a little massage. Let your jaw just release. Build up a lot of tension through there, so it's nice to release that out too. Take a big deep breath and just sigh, letting that all release. Hopefully you're feeling pretty good through the head, neck, and shoulders right now. I'm going to do one more thing, and it involves lying onto your mat, onto your side. So come on down, make your way to the floor, and you're going to be lying onto one side. Now, you can have some cushions around to put your head onto. I quite like to have a couple just to have my hand or my head fully supported. Whatever feels comfortable for you. But I'm going to put my cushions down. I'm going to have my, let's slide onto the right side and have your right arm out in front of you. So that you can put a thicker one there. So that my head is really just in line with my spine. It doesn't feel like I'm kind of leaning it down, anything like that. My shoulder's right underneath me, and my top hand is going to be folded onto my lower back. So my palm is facing the wall behind me, and the back of my hand is into that small of my back. And all you're going to do is just start to move your elbow forward and back. If this doesn't feel good for you, making it a big movement, keep it as small as you need to just let that movement move your wrist and move through your shoulder a little bit. Notice that I'm not letting my torso move all around, my head's not moving. It's just this kind of opening up through the front of the shoulder, opening up through the wrist. And then you're going to let the elbow point upright. Let your hand begin to come down onto the floor behind you. Touch the floor going to start to look for your elbow and start to unwind your arm out behind you. So you're going to find your hand with your gaze, reach those fingertips away from you, and then begin to fold your elbow back and bring that hand right back into the small of your back. I'm going to do that 2 more times. So reaching with the hand, as you're looking for the hand with your gaze, you want to see those fingertips reaching behind you. Don't let that shoulder fall back behind you so it feels like it's hanging out at any point. We'll do that 1 more time. And then this time, you're going to just roll onto your back for a second. Just take a moment as you're lying onto your back to just notice how both of the shoulders feel compared to each other. And then what you can do is just roll right on over to the other side. I'm going to move to the other side of my mat so that my back isn't facing you. But make yourself comfortable here. Get your shoulders stacked on top of each other. Let your bottom hand be out long. Make sure that your head is fully supported, and then fold that top arm into your hand into your lower back, and begin this little movement of your elbow forward and back. This is a really nice one to do after a long day of being seated at your desk. We're getting that wrist moving, we're getting those shoulders moving. Just giving them a little break here. And then begin to drop that hand down, begin to unfold the arm behind you, and just take a little look at your hand as it's coming back. And then bring it back around, right into the small of the back. And we'll do that again. Twice more, making sure your hand never falls out of sight of your eyesight. 1 last time. Reaching through those fingers, make sure this movement feels really good and nourishing for you. And then just lie onto your back. You're going to straighten your legs out if that feels good for you. And then just let your arms settle in by your side. So we're going to stay down here for a meditation today. So make yourself really comfortable. Make sure that, sometimes it's nicer to have the knees bent and the feet together and your knees just falling out to the side, or you can have your feet apart and have your knees coming together. Notice what feels good for your lower back and what's going to support you today. And then just begin to close the eyes and let yourself sink and settle into the surface of the floor underneath you. And see if you can start to really let go. We've talked about before letting the thoughts just settle, being aware of them, and then letting them go. So it's not about sort of trying to really judge the thoughts that come into our head. It's not sort of calling them good or bad, or, feeling guilty about what we're thinking. It's just taking note of them and then just letting them pass by and letting them move on so that you can focus in on, what's going on in your own head. So take a few moments to just notice any resistance to this. Maybe a lot comes up when you try to let your mind settle. And a lot of people would want to get up and go, and rather than having to sit and settle and just be still for a few moments. So notice what's coming up for you. And then just really start to take your attention to the crown of the head. You're going to scan on down through the front of the face, past the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, past the sides of the face, past the ears, and then past the back of the skull. You're scanning down, noticing any feelings and sensations of pain, tingling, heaviness, lightness, down through the neck, the shoulders, the arms, the elbows, forearms, and the hands. Noticing how each hand and arm makes contact with the floor. Noticing your upper back, your mid back, and your lower back, how those curves are meeting the floor. And then just make your way back up through the belly, the abdomen, and the chest. Gonna scan your way down through your spinal column until you come to the pelvis, front and back. Notice the shape and the indentation of your buttocks as they meet the floor. And then just scanning down through the thighs, the knees, the lower legs, and through the feet. And then we'll spend the next 5 minutes in silence so that you can really focus in on your breath. Counting your breath if that's helpful for you, 1 to 10, and then starting at 1 again. And we'll start that 5 minutes of silence now. And just noticing whether your thoughts begin to wander. Remembering that that's okay, but just to keep drawing your attention and your awareness back to your breath. Just beginning to bring your awareness back into the room, keeping the eyes closed for a moment, maybe circling through the wrists, circling through the ankles. You want to take a full body stretch while you're down here. And just roll over onto your side, keeping the eyes closed. Just let everything settle here for a moment. Maybe you want to support your head with your arm. And then slowly make your way up to seated. You can open your eyes now, and hopefully you'll enjoy the rest of your Saturday. I hope you have some nice things planned. I'll be back here tomorrow at 7:30. Tomorrow we'll do some deeper relaxation. Kind of went into that a little bit today, but it's so important to just give ourselves a moment to rest and relax. I know that for a lot of people, they never take any time out of their day. Sometimes I'm guilty of this as well, for sure. Not taking time out to just come away from a screen, not look at anything or think about, all the different stuff that's going on. So hopefully you can take a few moments today and tomorrow just to allow for a bit more of that. And I will see you back here bright and early. Thank you. Have a good day.